That's later. But first, time for our Cavuto Clash, where we take a couple of issues that leave little room for gray because they're pretty black and white, at least when it comes to tonight's gladiators, Imogen Lloyd-Webber and Sabrina Schaeffer, who couldn't be further apart when it comes to things like regulations and hiking the minimum wage. Both issues very much in the news today. First up, regulations, safe to say, out of control. The Hill reporting that under this president, an unprecedented overreach by government to control every facet of our lives, but something that's actually been picking up steam throughout Democratic and Republican administrations throughout our lives. A George Mason University study revealing the number of regulations on the books has soared more than tenfold since 1975, from 71,224 rules on the books to more than 174,000 and counting today. Imogen says most do good, so don't undo them. Sabrina says most do no good, so start cutting them. Imogen, what do you do?
Well, I'm thrilled to be here not talking about Diana, so thank you very much. Look, not all regulations...
There was a clear cabal against her, though, but go ahead.
Oh, no, there was not. There was not. Not all regulations are created equal. For instance, we could have had some more regulations on capital requirements. We might not have had the financial crisis. And indeed, if you break them down, say 82% of Americans think that the government have got the environment regulations right. In fact, maybe perhaps could have a few more regulations on the environment. However, this is a great GOP talking point. It does sound great. It feeds into a great narrative when you don't look at the small print.
All right, well, I look at the small print that is expanding, Sabrina, and I'm just saying, for every new rule you put in, take one out, and actually take two out. But my point is that the pile-on is unproductive. What do you think of that?
Yeah, well, first of all, I think your rule's right. I think that's what they say about your closet and about regulations. But the thing is that the number of pages that we're talking about is only one way of measuring it. This is a hidden tax on American families and businesses. And the CEI and the Heritage Foundation, they've calculated this to be close to $2 trillion in compliance costs to the economy. That is nothing to sneeze at. That is not to say, oh, this is a good way of setting policy. This is a serious problem that's a drain on the economy when we have close to 8% unemployment for over a year.
Do you think that these, ignorance of all these rules and regulations, Imogen, is no excuse. If you violate one, you're in deep doo-doo. Do you think that we've gotten to the point now, whatever your fondness for those in the environment or whatever, the financials, make banks not steal from you, et cetera, they've approached the point of overkill?
Well, I think on some levels, absolutely. The problem with regulations is it's very hard to get rid of them. Politicians last year spent $7.3 billion getting themselves elected. They had to raise that money. So therefore, they're beholden to all these special interest groups. So the minute one politician says, oh, we've got to get rid of this regulation, another politician goes, oh, no, that's my special constituent interest to defend. Right. So it's incredibly difficult right now in American politics to get rid of those bad regulations. Some regulations do have some merit, though.
Well, Sabrina, I do worry that we define our politicians' success by how many laws they pass or how many regulations or rules they added. I think it's kind of ass backwards.
Yeah, I think it's confused, and I think that we do have a serious problem of path dependency. But one of the bigger concerns on from my perspective is that it's not lawmakers who are passing these regulations. These are being passed by government bureaucrats who are not actually elected. And that's one of the biggest concerns with the sort of ballooning regulatory state, that it's really regulation without representation. And I think that too often we don't talk about that. We think that we can sort of direct it to one congressman or senator, but it's not quite the case.
Yeah, oftentimes it's an administration and it's chief heads or the president himself, Republican or Democrat. Well, issue two, would you like a clash with that coffee? Because in caffeinated Seattle, Washington, well, I guess they're getting ready for a minimum wage hike. The city council pushing a measure that would effectively double it to $15 an hour. Imogen is for raising the minimum wage. Sabrina is not. Imogen, but doubling it?
No, not doubling it, I have to say. But this Seattle, it's obviously very incredibly liberal, so it's hardly surprising this proposal is there. Whether we'll see it through or not,
I somewhat doubt it. You think it's the caffeine that blurs their sense of vision?
It could quite possibly be that. And also the rain.
Yes.
Sends us all nuts. I know about rain.
Right.
But no. But anyway, fundamentally, increasing the minimum wage actually isn't that controversial when you sometimes look at the figures. So I saw a survey the other day, 71% of Americans were for raising the minimum wage, 54% of conservatives were. So raising it just a little bit, not that controversial.
But not to $15.
Not to $15.
Sabrina.
I think this is usually framed in the sense of helping those who are in need, but that's not the way to help people with low-skilled jobs. The minimum wage is usually for people without a lot of skills in the restaurant industry and retail, and we all know this is not complicated economics. When you increase the cost of hiring people with low skills, it actually just makes more work for other people. We're going to create fewer jobs. The better way to help these people is to have less regulation, less government intervention, and a stronger economy all around.
Do you think, Sabrina, there's much credence to the notion that you raise their minimum wage, whether it's to $15, I agree with you, it would be a dramatic leap. They have more money to spend. In fact, it's a self-pleasing cycle. That, in other words, it does ignite economic activity, more people, spending money, and good all around.
I think that's short-term or short-sighted, I suppose. The bigger thing is when we think about young workers, for instance, or workers who are just trying to get into the job market, raising the minimum wage means that there's going to be fewer jobs. We can't force people to pay for something that they don't think the market values. So I think it's better to allow businesses to grow on their own and to stay out of it so that they can hire the right people at the right price.
Do you think Americans would swallow in that event? Price your burgers, price your fries, if that's what it took?
Who knows? Who knows? It is interesting looking at economists, though. I mean, Representative Grayson just last month got 100 economists to sign on to his proposal to raise the minimum wage. And so many economists
now,
raising
I'm
it slightly
if
could be
Representative
beneficial.
Grayson was the guy seeking them out, that they're all to the left of Karl Marx, don't you think?
I think so, but there have been various studies. John Schmidt's work on this has been absolutely fascinating, and there are economists.
Do you think it makes
are very
good
much
economic sense to do so? You're just not in the camp that says dramatically.
Yes, not dramatically. I'm going a little bit central on this.
Dramatically.
Yes.
Very good. Well, this just in: Egypt's military rulers are now going rogue. Wait till you hear what